This happened about 2 years ago. I was 30 and decided to go camping alone for the first time. I thought it would help me clear my mind and find some inspiration for my graphic design work. Felt like a good idea at the time. I arrived at a small campsite deep in a national forest, set up my tent, and settled in. Everything seemed normal, just tall pines, the sound of a distant creek, and complete silence. I've never stopped thinking about it. The first night, I remember sitting outside, sketching the trees and listening to the sounds of nature. It was peaceful at first, just me, the wind, and the quiet rustling of leaves. But then I heard something, a faint rustling beyond the tree line. I thought it might be a deer or maybe just the wind. It was late, and I tried to brush it off. But then it happened again. It sounded closer this time, and I felt a shiver go down my spine. I thought, it's just an animal, nothing to be scared of. As the night went on, the rustling kept pulling me from my sketches. I couldn't concentrate. Around midnight I heard it again. Footsteps, maybe? I wasn't sure, but my heart was racing. I grabbed my flashlight and shined it toward the sound. Just darkness. No eyes shining back, no movement. The next day, I shook off the fear. I thought maybe the weird sounds were just wildlife. I hiked further into the woods, trying to forget about the previous night. That evening, something strange happened again. I saw a flickering light in the distance, almost like a lantern. I thought, could someone else be out here? But when I walked toward it, the light vanished. I searched but found nothing. That feeling of being watched came back. I swear I could feel eyes on me. Later, I found symbols carved into trees nearby. They looked old and strange. I tried to take photos, but the images appeared blurry. I wasn't sure what was happening anymore. By the last night, I was on edge. The rustling returned, louder this time. I could hear whispering too, like voices carried by the wind. Suddenly, I saw a figure standing between the trees, staring right at me. It was there for a moment, then it was gone. I packed my things in a hurry. I felt nauseous. I wanted to scream but couldn't. I just wanted to leave. I went back to the tent and struggled to sleep, listening for anything. I heard that rustling again and more whispers. It was louder than ever. My hands trembled as I zipped my bag. Just before dawn, I heard a loud snap, like a branch breaking. I jumped up. My heart raced. What if it was that figure again? Couldn't take it. I left before sunrise. Even now, I still can't explain what happened those days. Were they figments of my imagination? Or was something more sinister hiding in those woods? I just don't know. When I got home, I thought I could shake it off. I'd return to my routine and forget about those strange days in the woods. But the anxiety wouldn't leave. At night, I found myself staring at the ceiling, recalling every rustle, every whispered sound. A week later, I decided to go through the photos I took on my trip. I sat at my desk, looking at the blurry images. They were frustrating, nothing that I expected. I could hardly make out the carvings on the trees or even the flickering light. I flipped through the images, hoping for something, anything that could explain what happened. That's when I noticed it. In one corner of a photo where I thought nothing was, there was a shape. It looked like a figure, barely visible against the trees. I zoomed in, my heart racing. There was something familiar about it. I felt a chill as I realized it was the same figure I saw that last night. I couldn't shake the feeling that I needed to know more. It was like a magnet pulling me back into the woods. I hesitated at first, but something deep inside me urged me to investigate. I returned to that campsite armed with my camera, a notebook, and a growing sense of dread. This time I brought a friend, Jamie. I thought it would help ease the tension. But as we drove back into the forest, my stomach knotted tighter. The trees looked darker, almost ominous. The familiar path felt foreign in the fading daylight. When we arrived, the campsite was just as I left it. Quiet and empty. I set up the tent while Jamie explored the area. Every sound felt amplified. I couldn't shake the fear that something was waiting for us. Later, as night fell, we sat by the fire. I told Jamie about what I had experienced. She raised an eyebrow but listened. Just as I began to relax, we heard the rustling again. low and creeping right outside our view. I froze. Jamie glanced at me, her face pale. "Is it just an animal?" she asked, her voice trembling. I wanted to reassure her, but deep down, I felt something else. Whoever or whatever was there, they were watching us. I turned my flashlight toward the sound, but once again, the darkness swallowed anything that could explain it. Then we saw a light flickering in the distance. My heart sank. "No way," I whispered, remembering my first experience. This time I wasn't going toward it. Couldn't. But before I could voice that thought, Jamie stood up. "I'm gonna check it out," she said. "Wait, don't." I choked. Panic surged through me as I reached for her arm. But she brushed me off and took a step toward the moving light. Then everything went dark. The fire flickered and snuffed out. My heart raced. "Jamie," I called, but there was no answer. The rustling grew louder around me. I was alone, and I could swear I heard whispering again. Crept in like the cold. "Jamie," I yelled, my voice cracking. That S when I saw it again, that shape standing just beyond the tree line, watching. I couldn't move. The figure lingered just beyond the trees, its outline shrouded in darkness. I blinked, hoping it would disappear, but it remained. My breath quickened, tight in my chest. Jamie was gone, and I was surrounded by shadows. "Jamie!" I shouted again, my voice breaking the oppressive silence. Silence. Just the rustling now, and a chill ran down my spine. The shape didn't approach. It just stood there, watching. I felt exposed, vulnerable, like prey being stalked. I fumbled for my flashlight, hands shaking. I managed to click it on, casting a beam into the dim night. The light cut through the darkness, and for a heartbeat, I thought I saw the figure flinch. But when the light landed on that spot, it was empty. My heart sank. I couldn't tell if it was there or if I had imagined it. "Don't leave me here," I called, my voice growing smaller. I forced myself to take a step back toward the tent, but I couldn't tear my gaze away from where the figure had been. The woods felt alive, watching me with every rustle and snap of a twig. Just then, I heard a voice, a whisper so faint, I almost missed it. It wasn't just the wind. It was words, threaded through the night air, distorted and unintelligible. My skin prickled with fear. What was it saying? Was it Jamie? I turned back to the tent, my mind racing. I needed to find her. The flickering light returned at the edge of the trees, dancing like a distant star. I took a deep breath, willing myself to move forward. "Jamie!" I shouted, more desperate now. I aimed my flashlight toward the source of the light, feeling a strange pull, an urge to go toward it despite everything. I crept forward, steps slow and cautious, nerves brimming. I strained my ears, hoping to hear something, anything from Jamie, but only silence responded. Then, the light blinked out, snuffed as if it had never been there. My heart dropped. I felt paralyzed, caught in a wrong decision. In that stillness, the rustling returned, closer now. The weight of the moment slammed down on me. I turned sharply, scanning the darkness, and that S when I noticed something on the ground, something shiny. Picked it up, breath hitching in my throat. It was one of Jamie's earrings, the silver glint familiar in my palm. My stomach twisted. "Jamie!" I shouted again, panic rising. I turned to go back, fear clawing at my rational thoughts. The trees shifted in the wind, but now the rustling grew unnaturally quiet, as though the very woods held their breath. Then, from behind me I heard a voice. "Help me, please." It was Jamie. "Jamie?" I whispered, hope and fear battling inside me. The voice was faint, but it was her. I had to find her. I rushed toward the sound, adrenaline pushing me forward. It led me deeper into the woods, the darkness swallowing me whole. Somehow I needed to get her back. But the deeper I went, the more I felt that figure was tracking my every move. And that voice? It was still calling, but it didn't sound like Jamie anymore. It sounded different. Wrong. Before I could process it, I stopped. Something shifted in the shadows ahead. I wasn't alone. I took a step back, my flashlight flickering. Then, something moved beside me. I turned, and the figure was there again, silently watching. This time, it felt closer. "Who are you?" I gasped, but my voice was barely a whisper. The figure stepped forward, and the world went dark around me once more. I stumbled backward, the flashlight flickering wildly as panic coursed through me. The figure loomed closer, an undefined shape against the inky backdrop of the woods. I held my breath, eyes locked on the familiar yet unrecognizable outline. It seemed to pulse with an energy I couldn't understand. "Please, just tell me where Jamie is," I shouted, a mix of fear and desperation spilling from my lips. There was no answer, only the deafening silence that made my heartbeat sound like thunder in my ears. The figure remained still for a moment, and I felt madness creeping in. Could I be imagining this? I squinted, trying to find some trace of human features. Then, the darkness shifted again, and I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. A low humming sound filled the air, almost melodic, cutting through my fear like a knife. I tightened my grip on the flashlight, its beam weak as the figure stepped closer still. It was now just a few feet away, and I could see an indistinct shape where its face should be, as if it was a blur. Without thinking, I turned and ran. I didn't know where to go, just that I had to put distance between myself and that thing. The trees whipped by me, shadows clawing at my arms and legs. My breath burned in my throat as I darted through the underbrush, stumbling over roots and rocks. "Jamie! Jamie!" I screamed, desperate to find her voice in the choking darkness. The humming continued, now overlapping with whispers that seemed to echo around me, deep and low, like a distant chant. The woods felt alive, as if they were protesting against my intrusion. Suddenly, I collided with something solid. I gasped and fell to the ground, the flashlight rolling from my hand and extinguishing itself. Panic surged as I fumbled to switch it back on. The darkness felt thick around me, and I couldn't tell if I had run into a tree or something worse. I blinked in frustration and fear, the beam finally flickering back to life. When the light returned, I found myself staring at a clearing. It was large, eerie, illuminated by a faint glow from what looked like a fire. Confused, I knelt up, squinting to make sense of it all. In the center of the clearing sat a circle of stones, perfectly arranged. The fire was a small pile of smoldering embers, its warmth flickering out into the night. And next to it, surrounded by the stones, was a tattered piece of cloth. Took me a second to recognize it. It was Jamie's jacket, the one she had worn when we arrived. My heart sank as my eyes darted around the edges of the clearing, searching for any sign of her. I could hardly breathe. "Jamie!" I shouted again, the word cracking under the weight of my fear. There was no response, only the whispering that continued to swirl around me, more urgent now. Just when I thought I would lose hope, something caught my eye at the far end of the clearing. A figure moved, cloaked in shadows but undeniably human. I wanted to call out, to reach for them, but a deep sense of dread washed over me. Did I even want to know who it was? Then everything went dark again. I jerked awake, my heart racing. The darkness felt suffocating. I blinked, trying to gather my thoughts and memories, but they were tangled like a ball of string. The clearing was still there, but the faint glow I had seen moments before was gone, leaving me in an even deeper void. "Hello?" I called, my voice trembling. I strained to hear anything: footsteps, whispers, even the rustle of leaves. But nothing came, just the weighty silence pressing in around me. I thought about Jamie. I imagined her wandering these woods, calling for me. Couldn't let her down. I had to find her. I crawled to where I thought I remembered the fire pit, hoping to find some comfort in the familiar. My fingers brushed against the cool stones, but something felt different. I turned my flashlight this way and that, scanning the ground. That was when I noticed the pattern carved into the stones around the fire. It looked almost like symbols, intricate and strange. I hadn't seen them before. Why would they be here? I muttered to myself, a chilling thought creeping in. What if this place wasn't just a campsite? What if it was something else entirely? As I inspected the markings, I heard the low hum began again, this time louder and deeper. It resonated in my chest, making me feel uneasy. I swallowed hard, the hairs on my neck standing up. Then, as if in answer to my question, the shadows around me stirred. A figure emerged slowly from the tree-line, moving cautiously as if testing the air. My flashlight illuminated their face, revealing not the blur I had seen before, but a woman. Her eyes were wide, almost frantic. "Help me," she gasped, collapsing to her knees in front of me. "Where's Jamie?" I blurted out, my voice tight. For a moment, I thought she might know something. A flicker of hope sparked inside me. I don't know. I was looking for her, too." Her words tumbled out in a rush. "I heard the calls, but they led me here. I don't think we're alone." My heart sank again. "What do you mean? Is there something out here?" Before she could respond, the humming intensified, wrapping around us like a living thing. The ground trembled slightly beneath us. I felt a surge of terror and instinctively grabbed the woman's arm. "We have to stick together," I said, trying to steady my breathing. "If we stay here, we might find her." "We can't." Suddenly, a shadow darted through the trees at the edge of the clearing. My heartbeat quickened, panic rising as the figure slipped in and out of view. I raised my flashlight, my hand shaking. "Did you see that?" I whispered. The woman nodded, her eyes wide with fear. "We should run. Now." But before we could move, a chilling laugh echoed in the clearing, sent shivers down my spine. I turned my head toward the sound, heart pounding. That was when I realized we weren't alone. I wish I had stayed in the tent. I barely had time to process the woman's pleading eyes before the laughter morphed into a chorus of murmurings. It was like they were speaking just beyond my understanding, pulling at the edges of my sanity. I tightened my grip on her arm, glancing around the clearing, searching for the source. What's happening?" I stuttered, my breath quickening. "I don't know. Please, we need to go," she urged again, her voice rising above the eerie sounds swirling around us. Instinct kicked in, and I swung my flashlight into the darkness. But all I could see were the trees tall and dark, closing in on us. The shadows seemed to grow longer, threatening to swallow us whole. I stepped back, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Then I noticed a shape just beyond the trees, too large to be an animal, too dark to be human. The figure stood still for a heartbeat, staring back at us with cold, unblinking eyes. I felt a jolt in my chest as my mind raced. "What is that?" I whispered, panic edging my voice. "I don't know," she gasped again, desperate. "But I'm not waiting to find out." She jerked away from me and began to run, her feet pounding against the leafy ground. I hesitated, torn between wanting to follow her and the urgent tug of curiosity that anchored me to the spot. A sense of responsibility washed over me. Jamie was still out here, somewhere. "Wait," I shouted, rushing after the woman. The underbrush crackled beneath my shoes, but the humming grew louder, vibrating through my bones. The air felt thick and charged with something I couldn't name. We burst through the trees into another clearing, but I barely gave it a glance. My eyes were still fixed on the woman ahead of me. I wanted to scream for her to stop, but my voice caught in my throat. Suddenly, she halted, and I nearly crashed into her. The flashlight beam flickered wildly around us, illuminating odd markings on the trees. They were similar to the symbols around the fire pit, each one emitting a faint, eerie glow. "What is this?" she breathed, her voice laced with fear. "I don't know," but my words fell flat as her gaze shifted, drawn back to the tree-line. My heart sank into my stomach as I looked to see what had caught her attention. A figure stepped into the clearing. No, not just one. There were several of them. Tall and almost indistinct, they moved with a grace that felt wrong, like they were not fully part of this world. The laughter danced around us again, more playful this time. "Run!" I yelled, instincts firing. We dashed towards a path leading deeper into the woods, branches slapping my face as I pushed through. The sounds of pursuit followed. I could hear them closing in, getting louder. But as I ran, I didn't just feel fear. Alongside it was a pulse of something else, a strange, dark curiosity. What were they? Why had everything been drawn to this place? Ahead, I saw a soft glow that pierced through the trees. I tightened my grip on the flashlight, my heart pounding against my ribs. I had to know. Just as I reached the light, I stumbled. My foot caught on a root, sending me sprawling to the ground. The flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into darkness. And then silence. What had I uncovered? The darkness swallowed me whole. I lay on the ground, breathless, feeling a strange mixture of panic and confusion. My mind raced, trying to gather my bearings. I forced myself to sit up, but the silence stretched out, wrapping around me like a suffocating blanket. "Hello?" I called out, my voice sounding weak against the void. No answer. Only the rustle of leaves danced in the air around me, mocking my solitude. I fumbled for the flashlight, wishing I didn't rely on its flickering light. It felt like I had been plunged into a void, devoid of any warmth or familiar sounds. I cursed under my breath, swiping my hands against the ground, trying to find it. That S when I felt it, a prickly sensation, as if 1,000 eyes were watching me from the darkness. I froze, my heart thumping painfully against my chest. I desperately wanted to call out for the woman, but fear lodged in my throat. I heard it then, the faint sound of footsteps. They approached slowly, deliberately. The ground crunched underfoot, sending a shiver of dread down my spine. I wanted to bolt, to escape, but my body wouldn't move. The footsteps stopped. I strained to see anything in the dark, but there was nothing, just shadows. My breath hitched as a low wheezing sound broke through the silence. My mind raced, trying to determine whether it was coming from the trees or right behind me. Then came a whisper, soft and scratching like nails on glass. "Help us." The voice was not just one. Felt like a chorus, layered and overlapping. I couldn't tell if it belonged to the tall figures I had seen, or something much worse. My pulse quickened, and I instinctively crawled backward, seeking any escape from that dreadful sound. Suddenly, the flashlight flickered back to life, illuminating my surroundings. I gasped. Standing just a few feet away were the same figures from before. They looked at me, their features distorted like reflections in a warped mirror. Their eyes were dark holes, devoid of emotion, yet they studied me with an unsettling intensity. "Help us," they breathed again, their voices merging into a haunting melody. It wasn't fear I felt. It was something deeper, something that tugged at my insides. I swallowed hard, trying to push it away. "What do you want?" I shouted, my voice shaking. The figures shifted, drawing closer, their movements fluid yet disquieting. I had to get out now. I bolted to my feet, adrenaline surging through me. I turned and fled in the opposite direction, the beam of the flashlight sweeping wildly across the path. I could feel their presence behind me, the urgency pulling me faster. Then, I tripped again, this time falling to my hands and knees. As I glanced over my shoulder, the figures were gone, swallowed by the shadows. But as I tried to recover, something glinted in the dirt, catching my eye. It was a pendant, intricately carved and glowing faintly under the light. It was one of the symbols I had seen before, the same ones on the trees. Curiosity pulled at me once more, despite the chaos surrounding me. That S when everything changed. The air thickened, and a sudden gust of wind swept through the clearing. The laughter returned, chilling me to the core. I grabbed the pendant, its energy pulsing against my palm. I stood up, scanning my surroundings again. The moment was filled with a sense of foreboding. I wasn't safe yet. "Jamie," I whispered, the name escaping my lips like a prayer. Whatever was happening was only beginning, and I felt in my bones that I had to find Jamie before it was too late. The pendant felt warm in my palm, as if it pulsed with life. I squeezed it tighter, hoping it would give me some strength as I moved deeper into the dark woods. Jamie's face flashed in my mind, her laughter echoing in the corners of my memory. I had to find her. I took a shaky breath and stepped forward, the beam of my flashlight steadying. "Jamie!" I called again, my voice louder this time, desperate to reach her. The trees loomed around me, their twisted branches casting eerie shadows that seemed to dance. I felt the weight of the night pressing in on me, like I was being tested. The wind howled, and for a moment, I thought I heard a response. A soft echoing call floated through the branches. It wasn't Jamie's voice, but it sent chills down my spine. My instincts screamed at me to turn back, but I pressed forward. I spotted a faint light in the distance, flickering dimly between the trees. Relief washed over me, and I hurried towards it, my heart racing with the promise of finding Jamie. But as I got closer, the light flickered out, leaving me in darkness once more. Confusion gripped me. I glanced back but saw only shadows. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. "This isn't funny," I shouted, my voice trembling with frustration. I felt so alone. When I noticed a strange mark on a nearby tree, the same symbol as the pendant. I approached it, tracing my fingers over the grooves. It felt cool to the touch, yet the air around me buzzed with an electric tension. I looked around, half expecting the figures from before to emerge, but there was nothing. Out of nowhere, laughter erupted again, lighter this time, like children hidden among the foliage. My heart sank. "Jamie?" I whispered, hope and fear battling within me. The sound seemed to swirl around me, teasing and beckoning. I turned in circles, disoriented. Panic surged. It wasn't just the darkness, it was the calls, combining in a chaotic symphony that made it hard to focus. "Jamie!" I yelled again, feeling raw and desperate. Then something moved in the periphery. I shifted the flashlight towards it. I barely caught a glimpse of a figure. A young girl? My heart leapt. Was that Jamie? "Wait!" I yelled, running after her. But she was fast, darting through the trees like a ghost. I stumbled, chasing the flicker of movement until I found myself in a small clearing, breathless and panting. The pendant grew warmer in my grip. In the center of the clearing, that strange energy surrounded me. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to happen. My eyes widened as the laughter began again, more insistent this time, echoing in a way that sent a shiver through my soul. Then came the voice, clearer now. "Join us," it sang, layered in every direction. It didn't sound like Jamie. My stomach twisted. "Join us." The ground beneath me began to tremble. I stepped back, realizing this might be a mistake. I was no longer just an observer. I was part of whatever was happening. I took another step, then turned and ran, heart pounding in my ears. The laughter followed me, sounding almost playful now, luring me deeper into the shadows. "No," I gasped. Couldn't give in. I couldn't let whatever was happening take me. I raced through the trees, the pendant's warmth fading as the darkness closed in. When I saw it. A faint glow ahead, pulsing in sync with my heartbeat. It felt like a beacon, guiding me through the nightmare. But as I approached, dread washed over me once more. I knew I wasn't alone. I had to reach it, to see if it held the answers I desperately sought. But deep down, a cold fear whispered that not all answers should be sought. I hurried towards the glow, each step heavy with uncertainty. The air crackled around me, a strange mix of anticipation and dread. The laughter faded, replaced by a low humming sound that seemed to resonate from the light. It felt almost alive, calling me closer. As the glow grew brighter, I realized it was coming from an old stone altar in the center of an odd circular clearing. The stones were etched with patterns similar to those on the pendant. I hesitated. An altar? What was this place? And what had I stumbled into? Cautiously, I stepped closer, scanning the area for any signs of life. The trees around me stood eerily still, their leaves whispering secrets I couldn't decipher. My heart raced. I had to know if Jamie had been here. When I reached the altar, the light pulsated more intensely. I placed the pendant on its surface. The moment it touched the stone, the energy around me surged. A shock ran through my body, pinning me in place. I gritted my teeth against it, desperate to pull away, but it held me, an invisible force tightening around my chest. "Help us!" a voice cried, striking me like a lightning bolt. It wasn't Jamie, but the sorrow in those words echoed painfully in my heart. The light flared, casting shadows that danced wildly along the edges of the clearing. "Who are you?" I shouted, my desperation boiling over. "What do you want?" Suddenly, several figures emerged from the trees, faces obscured in shadow, their eyes glinting in the dim light. I froze, dread spiraling in my gut. The figures looked like children but moved with an unnatural grace, gliding toward me as if they were weightless. One stepped forward, a girl with long braids and a haunting smile. "We're waiting," she said, her voice sweet but edged with something dark. "You should join us." "Join what?" I stammered, stepping back. My pulse quickened as the laughter from before returned, echoing around me like a chorus of trapped souls. The pendant burned in my palm again, but this time, it handed me a spark of courage. "Leave me alone," I shouted, breaking the trance. I spun on my heel and ran, plunging into the trees. Branches clawed at my face and arms, but I didn't care. I had to escape. The laughter turned into furious giggles, growing louder as I ran. I didn't know what they wanted, but each heartbeat reminded me that I had to find Jamie, to hold onto the belief that she was safe, that she was still out there. I dashed through the darkness, the altar's glow fading into the background. I suddenly stumbled into another clearing, this one larger and void of life. Relief washed over me for a brief moment, until I heard the faintest whisper in the wind. "Come back," my breath caught. I turned, heart racing. The shadowy figures had followed me, and their eyes glowed brighter now, fixated on me in the moonlight. They were no longer just amusing phantoms. They were hunting me. There was nowhere to hide. I felt my heart race, realization dawning. The light, the laughter, it was all part of something bigger, something terrible. And then I noticed a shimmer in the dirt beneath my feet. Something half-buried. My fingers brushed against it, and I gasped. It was a locket, cold and heavy. Inside, I found a miniature photograph of a girl who looked just like Jamie. Panic crashed over me like a wave. Who were these children? What had I gotten myself into? As the shadows grew closer, I knew my only choice was to unveil the truth behind the locket. But did I dare to face whatever it revealed? I clutched the locket tightly, its cool surface grounding me for just a moment. That girl in the photograph, was she just another victim of this cursed place? The shadows loomed larger, their whispers turning urgent, insistent, and my heart raced. I had to find out, no matter the cost. Grappling with my fear, I turned the locket over in my hands. The clasp clicked open, revealing a second, crumpled photograph now hidden in the compartment. My hands shook as I unfolded it, my breath hitching. It was a group of children playing near a campsite, their faces bright with laughter, untouched by darkness. And then, in the back, there was Jamie, arms thrown around a girl who could have been her twin. "Who are you?" I called into the encroaching gloom, desperate for answers. The grasp of cold night air clawed at me, threatening to drag me back into the shadows. Suddenly, the figures emerged once again, weightless and shifting with an unsettling grace. The girl with braids stepped forward, her smile drawing closer. "They all came here willingly," she chimed, her voice sweet as honey but dripped in an undercurrent of mischief. "And they stayed forever." I stumbled back, eyes darting between the children and the dark trees. "No, you can't keep us here." My voice rang out, almost a plea. "The woods are hungry," she continued as if I hadn't spoken. "For companionship, for laughter. They crave it. And you've come back." Her eyes shimmered with a strange light. "With your friend, you can stay together." I shook my head vehemently. "I'm not like you. I want to join you." "Join us," echoed the chorus of laughter behind her, growing in intensity. Panic surged as I realized I could hear other voices hidden among the laughter. Was that Jamie's voice, lost in the chaos of the night? "Leave her out of this," I yelled, the darkness feeling heavier, more oppressive. I turned and ran again, willing my legs to carry me farther away from that childlike laughter, tearing through the underbrush. I didn't know where I was going. I only wanted to escape. The shadowy figures pursued behind me, their laughter morphing into something darker, mocking. "Return to us. Find her." I stumbled into the trees, branches snagging at my arms, pulling me backward as though the very forest wished to contain me. But I pressed on, searching. My eyes darted desperately through the fog of twilight shadows, every crack of a branch or rustle of leaves causing my heart to trip. Then I stopped dead. Up ahead, I spotted a soft glow again, smaller but persistent, pulsating gently as if it were drawing me toward it in some instinctive manner. "Jamie!" I shouted, voice hoarse with hope as I sprinted toward it. The air around me buzzed, electric. As I drew closer, the surroundings brightened, revealing a small shrine-like area covered in symbols similar to those I had seen earlier, the same that graced the trees and the altar. At the center of it all was the very lantern light I had seen before, an ethereal glow, beckoning, promising answers. I fell to my knees, panting and desperate, my flashlight flickering alongside the warm light. "Where are you?" I cried into the space around me, feeling a strange pull toward the lantern. Something strange happened then. The glow surged, and through its incandescent light, I thought I saw her. Briefly, flickering like a vision trapped in a dream. Help! It was Jamie's voice, faint, barely there, yet painful in its familiarity. "Jamie!" I cried out again, reaching toward the light, struggling against the paralyzing fear that held me. The figures danced around the edges of my vision, their whispers swelling like a tide, drowning out everything else. "I'm here. I'm coming." I pressed forward, propelled by the hope of reaching her, defeating the laughter and their nagging, pleading voices. But the glow dimmed as I approached, flickering with indecision, and I faltered, energy fading like the warmth fading from my fingers. "Please, I can't lose you." Just then, something shifted again in the trees behind me. I glanced back, and the figures were there, closer than before, grinning now, with sharp teeth. "You have to choose," the girl said. "Choose?" I echoed, confusion gripping me. "Choose what?" "Leave with us, stay with her." A choice? My heart sank, twisting painfully in my chest. What did they mean? I didn't want to join their fate. I wouldn't allow it. Yet as I looked back at the faint embrace of the lantern, that fragile flicker, I felt it slipping through my fingers. "Choose quickly," the girl shrilled. "The wood's one wait." In that moment of divination, I grasped the locket tightly, pulling it to my chest. I felt its warmth radiate against my heart. Whatever this place wanted of me, I knew that I sought my truth. I'd fight for Jamie, but I had to stand against whatever dark designs threaded through this forest and whatever childlike illusion they tried to weave now. "Let her go," I shouted, heart thunderous, voice resolute. In defiance, I took a step back toward the lantern, determination igniting a fire within me, even as shadows clawed at the edges of my vision. The laughter burst forth, clearer but tinged with anger, a sudden wave of cold crashing over me. The figures paused, and for a heartbeat, the world around me held its breath. But as I stepped away, a flicker of light ignited within the locket, casting a golden hue that cut through the darkness. "Take her hand," the voice cried again, a roar echoing through the trees as shadows raged around me. I lunged forward, reaching towards the lantern, feeling its warmth beckoning. As I closed my eyes, a burst of heat overwhelmed me, drowning out the voices and laughter that throbbed around. And then, suddenly, that warmth engulfed me. The world shattered, and everything went white. When I opened my eyes, I found myself by the campfire. Jamie sat across from me, her face pale yet unmistakably there. "You came back," I gasped, bewildered. But there was something wrong in her eyes, a glimmer of shadows. "We can't stay here." Her voice trembled, and all at once I understood. The forest behind us rustled quietly, waiting, watching, as questions loomed between us. The truth remained hidden among the trees. As we glanced back, the woods whispered softly, and laughter mingled with the wind, sending a chill down my spine. We'd escaped for now, but I still didn't know what we had truly left behind. And I wasn't sure if we would ever be free.